We strive for work-life balance. Do we even know what that means? If we don't know what it means, what are we shooting for? We've got family, we've got jobs, we've got each other. Why are we here? What are we trying to do? And what gets in the way? Work-life balance is the definition of purpose under pressure. We're going to talk about it next. Aaron Bates and his wife, Aubrey Bates, talk about business and life next. The heat is on. Let's get cooking. This is Purpose Under Pressure. It's a podcast about people, business folks, human beings just like you and me who get up out of bed, put our feet on the floor, go off to work, go off to life to do whatever we're meant to do. And then those pressures come and try to knock us off path. And that's what this show is all about. We do this every week. We're going to do it again right now. If you're back and you've seen it before, if you like what you see, do me a favor, like, subscribe, kind of tell a friend, anything that you might do to help people know that this show is something you like and something that they might find interesting to tune into as well. It's how we're going to grow it. It's how we're going to help people change their lives as well. And when people need some help getting over the pressure, we can provide some purpose that way. So Purpose Under Pressure is brought to you by Sandler by the Ruby Group, serving sales professionals nationwide from their Akron and Columbus, Ohio locations. They're also in Jacksonville, Florida. Folks, this is the end of the 5th season. 13 episodes a season. They have been with me every single step of the way. Every episode brought to you in partnership by Sandler, the Ruby Group. And I just can't thank them enough. They're going to be back for season 6, which will get started here in about 6 weeks from now. But it's a blessing to me that they have chosen to support this show. They believe in what we're trying to do in this show. They run their business as Purpose Under Pressure might suggest that they do. And if you're looking to build your business the right way, on purpose, increase your sales, increase your revenues, but yet not give up anything along the way as far as ethics and values and things that matter, that's Sandler by the Ruby Group. You'll do yourself a favor by getting in touch with them. They are at the rubygroup.sandler.com. So, folks, I'm a family guy, family first. You know that. If you know me at all, you know I'm not being glib about that. Family first, family matters. That's all there is to it. If it comes down to one or the other, you're choosing family and stop. But I believe business and family go together. And I think true life business balance means you're excelling at both. It doesn't mean you're giving one up over the other. It means you're truly in balance, equal. You're excellent wherever you are, as long as you're being where you are. And that's what this show is all about today. It's about family, life, work balance. My guests today are building businesses. They're building community. They're building a family. And that's a mighty load. Welcome, Aaron Bates. He's a certified financial planner and principal with Whitcomb and Hess CPAs and financial advisors, and his wife, Aubrey Bates, who is the owner of Rise Studios. They are both building businesses and building communities. They're also raising 3 children. Aubrey and Aaron Bates, welcome to the Purpose Under Pressure podcast.
Thanks, Bryan. Appreciate you having us on.
I'm glad you're here. I've known you guys for a little while. I don't know you extremely well, but I know you enough to know who you are. And you're ethical, and you're on purpose, and you're doing things for the right reasons. When I asked you to join the show, I wanted to talk about family. And I don't exactly know what you're going to tell me. You might say, hey, Bryan, it's easy. Ain't nothing to this. What are you worried about? But I have a feeling there's some issues there. So if you guys don't mind, real quick, introduce yourselves a little bit to the audience. Let them know what your purpose is, what you're here for, what you do. And then we're going to talk about some of the struggles that come along as far as building business and raising families.
You go first.
You've been told, Aaron.
Okay. Well, as Bryan said, I'm a managing principal here at Whitcomb and Hess. And so in addition to serving clients and doing the kind of day-to-day thing as a financial advisor, also have the opportunity and privilege to foster and facilitate the team and kind of the business at large. And I really enjoy that aspect of my role here as well. As you mentioned, I'm also a husband and a father of 3 children. Our children are 19, 17, and 14. So they all have busy, active lives of their own. I affectionately refer to their activities as our 3-ring circus. So I feel like we're hopping in and out of each ring kind of all the time and maintaining that. And as Aubrey will share in a moment about all that she's doing, I mean, she has a full plate of her own with the studio and the Wellness Collective and all the things happening there. So, yeah, it's our day planners take a little bit of coordinating from time to time, and usually a phone call every day about 4:30, 5 o'clock to figure out what's next. So
say hello. Yeah.
Yep.
How about you, Aubrey?
Yep, I own Rise Studios Wellness Collective. So it started out 10 years ago as a yoga studio, and it's now I don't even know how many different practitioners and services it's expanded into. We unite mind, body, and soul. So somatic life coaching. There's a gym currently. We have a nonprofit we're running out of this space. So kind of has expanded into multifaceted operation facility. So I'm running that, managing the people, as well as all of my own services and things that I offer and provide.
Has it grown bigger than you thought it would grow, Aubrey?
It's grown different than I thought it would grow.
Okay.
Yeah.
How so?
The in-person public classes have not grown in the ways that I thought that they would. Mm-hmm. Those have maybe even diminished, whereas the one-on-one services, the more like personal, intentional services have grown way more. And then I never saw this nonprofit coming. It was kind of an idea a few years ago, and that has actually really, really taken off. So.
Yeah, and so you're busier than you thought you'd be. You thought you'd be teaching or working with multiple people in one class. You're actually working with fewer people over more classes, and you've added a nonprofit as well. And I know, Aaron, the way you're doing your job, you're constantly growing and helping people grow. The more they grow, the more you grow, and it just starts to grow. Right. And so it never quits. And yet the family is always going, hey, Mom, Dad, what about me? Can you guys give me an example of and maybe I'm throwing you a curveball, but maybe there's a shared mission statement or a shared purpose that you each have as husband and wife in business, in life, in church. Kind of what is your purpose together as you kind of navigate this world?
Well, I remember specifically when we started having children, that our vision, I would say, for them was to be a joy to us and a blessing to others. And and so I think, I think of kind of God's promise to Abraham in the Old Testament of, I will bless you so that you can be a blessing to others, in that we are, each of us, in my belief, is that we are all just conduits of blessing. And so what is given to us in skills and abilities and health and resources is meant to be utilized and shared for the betterment of everybody. And, I think that's in each of our vocations, things that we try to do with our skills, abilities, and resources, effort and energy that goes throughout the day. And also I pray that that's what, ultimately happens for our kids as well. And I think that the joy to us, blessing to others is the goal.
Anything to add to that, Aubrey, since it's kind of a shared purpose?
I think that as they've grown, especially, they're not just little clones of us, and they're not little robots. So being able to foster their unique individuality and kind of help them discover their own purpose, their own self, that they're not just robots that do what we say, just to help pull out their gifts and abilities and to become their own person.
And so when that's the purpose, and I love that example, and I love the way you explained that, when that's the purpose of your lives, is to be conduits of others, to help bring them out, to serve society, business takes 40 hours a week at a minimum, and maybe plenty more. What are the pressures that come along? Now think of yourselves as business owners, business operators, leaders. What are the pressures that come along that kind of knock you off balance? Can you share some examples of, look, I know we've got to raise kids right, but man, the business has to go. We have to get this done. Give me some examples of some pressure that comes along the way.
Go ahead.
Like yesterday.
You can take
How many can we add? But
yeah. I think one of the pressures, and maybe I'll use the word tensions, is responsibility versus just being present, being in service of others, and being able to take care of ourselves. Those are always kind of the two sides of things that I think we're always fighting. And I use the word tension because the tug of war, equal pressure on both sides makes the thing in the middle stay stable. But a lot of times you do just get pulled too far into the responsibility, or pulled too far into, I just need a day off. And then you drop balls and things fall away. So.
Yeah. Aaron, is that right?
Yeah.
What happens when the push and the pull doesn't equal out? Aubrey and I talked a little bit about, before the show, we talked a little bit about dropping balls, and we're like, it feels like it's something that's wrong, but yet, man, that's what balls were made for. I mean, we try to catch as many as we can, but we drop more than we wish. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think our oldest son just went to college a year ago, and I think I realized as that 18 years of him as a child, as an adolescent, and really growing up under our care kind of flashed before my eyes, how much time, kind of to Aubrey's point, we do spend just managing things. And I think there are tools to manage things, right? I mean, we have calendars, we have computers, we have technology to manage things. And I think if anything, not that I have huge regrets, but maybe a realization was how much or how little time we actually spend being totally present with one another. And when I mean present, just without distractions, in conversation. I mean, as an example, on the work side, we typically hold all of our client meetings in a conference room away from our computer, because that allows us to have kind of direct, full focused attention on the client or the meeting that we're in. And that's an intentional decision we've made kind of as a practice here at the office. I think at home, I could do a better job of not having distractions and having that more disciplined attention with Aubrey, with the kids, or, facilitate times to just get away, where even at home you can be distracted by, the laundry needs done, the counter needs cleaned off, the desk needs organized or whatever, the garage needs cleaned out. But, just being able to get away and kind of try to spend time, focused time with each other. And I guess, a couple of vacations come to mind more recently in ways that I think we were able to do that. One was the five of us just got done hiking out in southern Utah and northern Arizona around the Grand Canyon, Zion, Bryce Canyon. And I have a new appreciation for hiking as a family activity, because you're typically not on your phones, you're still kind of actively doing something, but just being able to kind of walk and talk and explore the world directly around you together is something that I don't know that we as a family have really experienced before. And earlier in the summer, we were able to take a trip with our oldest son, kind of as a graduation gift, and just the three of us be able to spend that week together was really precious for me. So just being able to protect time and be present is the thing that I think is so important.
And being present, I remember once talking with my daughter, and I was reading the newspaper about something that had just happened while she was telling me this very important thing, and I'm nodding, and she finally said, "Dad, you're not listening to me." And I looked up and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not. I'm completely somewhere else.
Right.
And you try to change that. I'm interested though. First of all, before I say that, you brought up something I hadn't even thought about. I talked about the balance, life balance, and I said work and family. The two of you, that's the third leg of it. And boy, isn't that something we forget as married people? Mm-hmm. We got to take care of the kids. We got to take care of business. Well, what's the time for us? Aubrey, is there ever a time where the business where the family had to come second to keep the balance right for the business. That's where the real pressure is. We can always say, no, family first. But was there ever a time when you're like, no, the family took it on the cusp here because I had to take care of the business?
Yeah, I think I wrestle with that almost always. Even starting it, I thought like, oh, I'll just wait until, our youngest is in school and things aligned to where I was able to start it before she went to school. So there's always when I'm here, it's like, oh, I should be in summer times but probably moving downtown. We are renovating this building and running another location. And I was in school, and I'm sure they took it a little bit of a back burner then, even though we tried to involve them as much as possible. But that's probably the time that I was mostly here.
And how do you, and I don't mean to cause a trouble because we all live this, we all go through this, but how do you as a mom justify that, knowing that I've got to get this side of the teeter-totter right? Mm-hmm. This side's going to be down for a while. How do you justify that, knowing that like Aaron said, we've only got so much time together? Yeah.
And you do justify it. Maybe this is right, maybe this is wrong. We'll see how it plays out when they're in their own, therapy sessions as adults. But
find out later how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm hoping that we're setting examples. I'm hoping that they're watching how we are, running businesses, leading people, trying to do the juggling act, living in integrity, being married, taking care of ourselves. Like I'm hoping that they're watching that, and maybe it's a bad example. Maybe by them watching it, they're like, I'm never doing it that way.
Maybe.
But that's my justification, is that I don't know that maybe moms specifically, probably parents in general, do service to their children when they meet every single one of their needs and helicopter them and clear obstacles for them and just do it all. So I'm hoping that they're watching us work and learning work ethic and learning what it takes to live out our own purposes.
Yeah, and to not give up, right? To not choose one side or another, or do all work. There's a lot of people that just work. It's stereotypical, but this is the world that I grew up in. I grew up in the world where my mom stayed at home. My dad worked hard. That's changed. But the stereotypes are still kind of there, aren't they? They still are. The man is expected to be, and the woman is expected to be. And yet, Aaron, have you any regrets? You work hard for your customers. You work hard for your family. Any regrets looking back? You guys have raised 3 amazing kids. I should say that first. But what would you do differently now that things aren't quite that hard? Like, it's equal. We are, husband and wife and mom and dad, we're equal. Yeah. But yet it's tough sometimes. What would you maybe do different when it comes to raising kids and running a business?
I don't know that. Well, I don't know that this could be done differently, but I will say this, that one of the things that I lament is how I was raised versus how I was raised with my dad and his career, and what I've been able to do and not do so far with my kids. And that is, my dad was a farmer, and he worked from sun up till past sundown every day. But being a farmer and working at home, basically, as kids, whenever we weren't in school or doing our things, we were able to work with him. And I worked very closely with him. So hard work was never a new concept to me. But a few years ago, I realized and began to kind of, see that, like, for me to work hard means I leave home, that I have to separate from my kids and my family. Because of the nature of the work that I do, being confidential and private, I don't really even get to talk about what I do. And there's times where I've heard my kids, when they say, well, now, Dad, is this what you do? It's like I realize they don't even really know what a lot of times I do on a daily basis. So that is something, if I could change, I would, although I don't think I can, just because of the nature of it. And I think it's one of the things that Aubrey's been able to do better is to incorporate the kids and the things that she's been able to do. I mean, I know that they've been at the studio helping things, checking in people to classes. They were able to help out a little bit that they could with, some of the remodeling and those kinds of things. So again, it kind of goes back to that, just being present and together. And, I guess just the nature of our work, because it's got to be separate and confidential, has been a bit of a challenge for me to, just again, compared to how I grew up, working very closely with my dad and my siblings and just kind of all doing it together. But, and I, Aubrey will tell you the truth. I probably don't do a great job of it, but when I'm home, I try to be home. And when I'm at the office, I try to be at the office. And, naturally there's some crossover and overlap and integration, probably more now than there's ever been, but just trying to turn it off when you can turn it off.
One of the biggest problems we have as managers and leaders is sometimes we're not focusing on leading and we end up doing it for our sales team. How do we coach our people to help them figure out what self-limiting belief that they have that's holding them back from achieving the levels of success that they know they're capable of? Help them flush out what we call their own head trash, that thing that's holding them back. So work with your team, lead by example, watch your team achieve greater levels of success, and watch your team grow, and more importantly, watch your company and your business grow.
Aubrey, you've already got one of your sons gone off to college, right? Are both are two of your kids going off? So
no, just one. Yeah.
Just one so far. Yeah. Balloons just went off.
We're celebrating that.
I guess, hey, congratulations. The kids are out of here. I'm not sure what that was all about. I'll have to look into that later. Trust me, there's no actual balloons here. So that was all. That was. We got to be careful about
the magic word.
We have to be careful about AI. That's the one thing I will tell you right now. I was working on a project today where AI tried to correct the writings of Emerson. Ralph Waldo Emerson. Gosh. I was like, no, Ralph had it right. I'm not.
Yeah, we're gonna let Ralph just be Ralph. Yeah.
And we'll let him be himself. Back to the show here, Aubrey. They're gonna leave.
Yeah.
What's the hurdles? Your purpose. You're gonna have the empty nest. They're moving out of the house. They're gonna be on their own. What's the next way that you keep the purpose alive of your and Aaron's kind of goal as a family, knowing that now the kids don't need you as much? They're off doing their own thing.
Yeah, we're starting to taste that, I think, a little bit just with, one's out of the house, but the other's driving and never home. So you might as well be out of the house.
Yeah, that's right.
You find moments where we're like, oh, everybody's gone. What are we supposed to do now? Because we've been juggling all the things. And then all of a sudden we have this a couple hours of time. So we've been in conversation about what does that next phase, what does our role as parents of adult kids look like? What's our rhythm to be? And I don't know that we've come up with an answer for that yet. I do think that because I haven't only been, I hate to say that, but that's one of those lies that I've told myself. I'm not only a mom. Because I've had other things in addition to, I'm hoping that will be a seamless transition, to be able to still work in whatever capacity, living out my own purpose and showing up for them in the times and the ways, because they still need our parents, but it's in a different, it's to help them move into an apartment or, hey, I just got this job offer, or, so it may not be as frequent, but the needs might be bigger. So, being able to still stay flexible, to show up when they need us to show up, but being able to fill our time, knowing that the time with them is dwindling and we'll be able to fill it with, and we love traveling with, so we're able to start infusing things we enjoy, as they need us a little bit less. Not that we don't enjoy being with them, but less of the managing and a little more of the, oh, hey, we get to choose now what's fun to us. Where are we going to go to eat? What are we going to try that's new? And where do you want to hike? Where do you want to travel to? So,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, hopefully that will make the transition a little bit easier.
What about you, Aaron? How are you going to balance things out a little bit as work becomes even more work and family is a little more distant? What other pressures do you kind of see along the horizon that are going to kind of change the dynamic as we go along?
Yeah, well, I see two things. One, like Aubrey was talking, she was talking, I was thinking about the difference between being like an NBA coach and their responsibilities to coach basketball, being a coach of like youth sports, where in youth sports, like you're teaching them how to dribble, how to shoot, how to do all of these things. And it's very much a hands-on kind of thing. And after reading a book by Phil Jackson, him talking about his experiences coaching the Chicago Bulls and the LA Lakers, it's very much more of an advisory kind of role. Like he's not teaching players how to play the game. They already know that. It's more about like being an advisory parent, making sure that strategy is good and that general direction, and I'm here as a resource more than as dictating every move. So I think we've seen that again already happening or starting to happen more with our kids, where they don't need us on a day after day after day basis. I think as our kids as they start to go farther away from home, whether it be colleges or jobs or whatever activities, I think it does increase just the need to be intentional still about creating that time and that presence, because we all get busy. They're only going to get busier. I mean, this summer we had like 1 week, and that was it, the only week for us to get together. And
amazing.
There was a chance that our oldest son wasn't even going to be able to join us, and thankfully he was. But those kinds of just being intentional and committed to setting aside time or making plans, I can see how that's going to be, even more critical as time goes on, so that we don't lose track, and that we don't, time just slips away, and it's been too long and nobody knows how that happened. So
it's the way it goes. And I started the show with my own definition of life balance. And I'm realizing as I'm talking to you that maybe I'm not accurate. Maybe I'm not thinking about it right. And I'm interested in both of you as we kind of wrap up the show. What is your definition of work-life balance? I said originally it's excellence at both. Yeah, I don't know. As I'm listening and talking and I'm like thinking about my own life, maybe that's not even possible. Maybe you can't be great on both sides of that teeter-totter. I don't know now. I'm questioning a little bit. I want to hear from both of you. What is your definition of what are you striving for to create real work-life balance?
There is separation, but there's also not, right? They're all part of a whole thing. And when I talk about balance in my instructing like yoga classes, if you're standing on one foot, you will feel all of the little muscles counterbalancing. Like they're always working. They're always, active. So it's kind of just always being in tune. There's going to be a season that work gets a little bit more. There's going to be a season where family gets a little bit more. But it's just this constant adjusting and being aware of where those little tweaks and adjustments need to be made. So I don't know that I can say, well, these are equal. They're all part of a thing. The foot, if you will, the symbol or the analogy there, it's in the body. You're always just making these little adjustments, and some seasons are going to call for something else.
It's really interesting that I said excellence in both sides, but you brought it down to no. It actually shows you where you need work. Each side starts to fall a little bit. The other side has to strengthen to hold it back up. That's a great analogy. Aaron, what about you? What do you think?
Yeah, well, I guess when you said, how do we define work-life balance, that was a great question. And my first thought was, golly, I don't know if I've ever really defined it for myself. But the word that came to mind was more work-life integration. And I think that is maybe kind of the concept Aubrey was talking about too, is like, when I'm at work, I'm 100% at work, and I'm still 100% dad and 100% husband. And when I'm at home, I'm 100% dad, 100% husband, and I'm still 100% principal at Whitcomb and Hess. So like, I can't ever not be what I'm not. You know what I mean? And I think
interesting.
I think that I think it's more like how do we weave this thing together and integrate it more than how do we try to separate it. You know, and I even said earlier, when I'm at home, I try to be at home, and I'm at work, I try to be at work. I think there's certainly time periods where maybe one gets prioritized over another, but we're never not something we are. And I think that integration is probably the way I see it. And I think, you know, and I see our team, and I think our kids, you know, it's with technology, we're accessible 24/7 to everybody, you know, to family, to spouse, to clients. And, you know, I think thankfully, the world is coming to more and more recognition or awareness of this. And so, you know, because of some of the technology things that we have available today, it allows us to be more integrated than we've ever been.
Which doesn't always have to be a negative, right? It could be, we can use it as a strength.
Right. Exactly. So I guess that's just trying to harness the positives of it and not the negatives of it. And yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up. A lot of times we blame social media, or we blame technology. We can't get off the grid. But however, when we're trying to do a lot of things, it can really be a helpful thing, where we can be a couple of places at one time.
Right.
Those kind of situations.
Yeah. Yep. And I think when we have healthy boundaries around it, you know, I try not to bother Aaron at work with, you know, kid stuff or my work stuff. It's like, he's at work, and I know that about 5 o'clock I'll get a call, and we'll shift gears into, all right, what do we have when we have to switch our hats to being parents? What's next? So I think if there's healthy boundaries around that too, like I'm not going to call and expect that I get an hour of his time during the day. And, you know, the kids know that. And conversely, in the evening, if I get emails and things from clients, it's like it may need attention because there's classes and things happening at 7 at night. But I'm not going to, you know, give too much more than its fair share in the evenings. So I think having healthy boundaries is good with that work-life balance too.
It sure is. You've got to develop those as well, because it's a big part of what we're trying to accomplish. I can tell when it's been a good show, when it feels like it's taken 3 minutes and it's taken 30. It's this conversation has just flown by. Folks, Aubrey and Aaron Bates are both great parents, but they're also great at their jobs. And I'd be remiss if I didn't give them a chance. I don't think you want people calling you for parental advice, but if they wanted to talk to you about your business, I want to try to promote that a little bit as well. Can you each give me some contact information, how they might reach out to work with you? Because I'm telling you, folks, if you're looking financial planning, certified accountant, that kind of thing, I've been working with Aaron for a long time. I've got more money today than I had yesterday. That's all I care. It might just be $1, but that's the way that goes. Aubrey, I've never taken a yoga class, but it's on my list. I know how great you are. Can you let the audience know how to get in touch with you guys?
Yeah, so you can learn more about our firm at www.whitcomb.com. My email address is abates@whitcomb.com. If you want to call our office, it's 419-289-7007. And, you know, Bryan, your podcast about purpose under pressure, you know, really, I would say the same is true for how we manage finances as well. I mean, there's got to be purpose. There's got to be purpose behind everything that we do. Right. And it's not just about making one extra dollar, but how do we harness that?
That's exactly right. Aubrey?
Yep. And I am at risewellnesscollective.org, also Facebook and Instagram. And then my email is aubrey@risewellnesscollective.org.
Tremendous. Thank you very much, both of you, for being here. I want to thank you for your vulnerability. I don't think I've done a show like this where we really just talked about family and the issues. And isn't that, like we talked about already for the last 30 minutes, in a balanced life, man, why do we constantly focus on business and, who am I? I'm an accountant. I'm a financial planner. I teach you. No, we're raising families, and when it all comes right down to it. So I don't know why we don't spend more time on it, but we did here. And I thank you so much for sharing. I hope that others out there that are feeling the stress of being out of balance a little bit, one way or the other, might take some advice from this and make it a better day. So thank you very much for sharing your stories.
Yeah. Thanks again for asking us.
Thank you.
That's Aubrey and Aaron Bass. They are tremendous. They're good people. They're good families, and they take care of each other. They take care of their own, and they're taking care of the community and their customers as well. They're just really into building things, and I think that's pretty cool. So I'm really thrilled that they were our guests on the final episode of Season 5 of Purpose Under Pressure, brought to you in partnership with Sandler by the Ruby Group. Sellers are under pressure to perform. Sandler helps you to succeed on purpose. You will find all past episodes, all 5 seasons of Purpose Under Pressure at bryanmediastrategies.com/podcast and wherever you stream your favorite shows. We're going to do this again in about 5 or 6 weeks. Until then, catch up on some past ones. We'll be back and we'll do it every week then. See you next time on Purpose.